Hey everybody, welcome back to Rooked by a Crook, where I try to encourage viewers to be more skeptical in the search for life advisors. Today I want to talk through 14 warning signs that I believe are important to watch out for when you're looking for a spiritual advisor. I know, 14 is a lot, and so I've left timestamps in the description box below. You may want to skip around. Also, these 14 are not definitive, they're not exhaustive, they're just what I've come up with in my experience. And so as always, I encourage you to do your own research and develop your own healthy skepticism. Spiritual advisors can include priests or ministers. They can include gurus. They may offer us some doctrine, they may offer us some practices. Whatever you want to call them, these are what I refer to as spiritual advisors. The remaining warning signs all relate to dubious practices of the group. And my 8th warning sign is secrets. It's common for some spiritual traditions to ask the aspirant to keep their mantra a secret. But when there are entire practices that cannot be revealed to outsiders, when there are a lot of secrets going on in an organization, then they're not open to question from outside. And of course, if they're not open to question, then this leads to the possibility of absolutism. It's a fundamental part of the Catholic religion to go to confession. And so, yes, we may want to reveal our secrets and be absolved of our shame, but we should never feel that we are pressured to reveal secrets. And nobody should ever be asking us to reveal the secrets of our friends and family. Keith Raniere and his cult Nxvium used secrets of friends and family in order to manipulate followers to stay within the organization for fear of the consequences that this could cause to those family members and friends whose secrets they revealed. And so anytime that we are being asked to reveal the secrets of our friends, family, lovers, we should be very seriously concerned about that spiritual advisor and that group. I understand that evangelism is a part of some Christian traditions, but my 9th warning sign is the practice of recruitment. Being a spiritual seeker is an individual decision, and the presence of pressure to recruit others or rewards for recruiting followers is a very serious red flag. My 10th warning sign also involves pressure, and that is the pressure to commit. We may be pressured to commit to following a certain path, or we may be pressured to commit more time to that path or money than we would like. Spiritual development is an individual thing, and it happens at everybody's own pace. But pressure can come in the form of limited time offers or special access to the teacher. Or it can come in the form of any kind of special dispensation if only we commit. One form of pressure to commit comes in the form of energetically charged revivals where everybody's going down and declaring their faith, and we can get caught up in the moment, in the frenzy. And so a seeker can be lured into conversions and commitments under this frenzy of what is essentially peer pressure. I was burning up over there, and hey, maybe talking about shady practitioners is better done in the shade. One of the more subtle pressures to commit is in the form of threats of punishment, like ostracism. When we were ancient people, we lived in communities, and the threat of ostracism really meant the threat of death. And so ostracism is still one of those primal things that we fear. And so it can be a really easily manipulated tool to get us to commit. Now, once we're committed, we're stuck because we value the things that we've already invested in, and we will go to much greater lengths to defend the faith that we have committed to. Any sign of the pressure to commit is a red flag and warning sign when you're seeking a spiritual advisor. Number 11 on my list of warning signs is the existence of inner circles of followers who may have special privileges or special access to the spiritual advisor. Many times when we're on a spiritual path, we already feel like an outsider. We may have come to the spiritual path through a crisis of meaning. And the existence of an inner and outer circle just triggers our insecurity. That insecurity then creates competition and pits follower against follower. But spiritual development is not a competition. And when we are experiencing that competition, we're really vying for the attention and the love of the spiritual advisor, which should be ours anyways, if the spiritual advisor is worth their salt. This competition and our own insecurity can cause us to act in ways we normally would not. And so the presence of an inner circle and an outer circle of followers is a very serious warning sign. My 12th warning sign involves something we've already touched on, and that is whenever there is punishment or ostracism for the simple act of questioning a doctrine or a teacher. Spiritual development must involve questioning. This is a very serious red flag and warning sign. We've even seen in some spiritual traditions, former followers are pursued by the group and they are punished either financially, reputationally, or physically for having left the group. Sometimes this extends to their family and friends, and the fact that this punishment may be meted out for leaving the group tends to cause the followers to stay put and not leave. Anytime there are punishments for questioning the leader or the doctrine, and anytime there are barriers to exit, very serious warning bells should be going off for you. This is not a reputable spiritual advisor. My penultimate warning sign is whenever a spiritual seeker is encouraged to separate themselves permanently from non-followers. Now, of course, spiritual retreats are wonderful, and they allow us a period of time to focus on our spiritual practice. But whenever a spiritual seeker is encouraged to leave their family and their friends and the outside world in order to live exclusively with other members of the spiritual community, this may raise some red flags. Yes, this is what monks will do. And for a period of time, this is what happens in an ashram. Now, I'm not saying that all utopian communities are suspect, not by any stretch of the imagination. They're not all cults. There are some wonderful utopian communities out there. But when a seeker is encouraged to leave behind their former life and cut ties with everyone they've ever known, then this means that there is very little chance of any external influence. And that allows an unscrupulous spiritual advisor to cement their power over them. I would suggest this is a warning sign to consider whether this spiritual teacher is perhaps a charlatan or cult leader. And my final warning sign is the one you've probably been expecting all along, and that is the way that the spiritual advisor and the group handles money. Yes, donations can be a great thing. They can allow a spiritual advisor to focus on their ministry. But where followers are pressured and donations are required, that's a bit of a warning sign. Whenever I see an extravagant display of wealth by a spiritual leader, I am immediately on caution. Pressure can be applied, and the same tactics also apply. There can be limited time offers for courses and retreats, or special access to the teacher for extra fees. When we see that costs increase the further along down a spiritual path we go, then we might be facing an unscrupulous spiritual leader and group. The price for retreats and courses should not increase the closer to enlightenment you get. What this effectively is doing is holding your spiritual enlightenment for ransom. Now, it often happens in utopian communities, but it can happen in others as well, where followers are required to give up their worldly possessions and surrender them to the group. But what this can lead to is an entrapment of the spiritual seeker, because if they've given up all of their worldly possessions and they find that they want to leave the group, they have nothing to fall back on. Financial abuse of spiritual seekers by spiritual advisors and their groups is one of the most common forms of abuse we see in the spiritual community. As I said, this is not an exhaustive list of the warning signs that you should look for when seeking a spiritual advisor. It's just a primer to get you started. Always be cautious and be prepared to take your time to make sure that this spiritual advisor is right for you and that you are not rooked by a crook. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos in this series, then click subscribe, or if you wait to the end, you'll see the whole playlist. For what are you most grateful today?